Okay, Iron Man 2. Told you guys I'd review this one. Just got back from the movie theater a few minutes ago, and since the kick-ass video turned out pretty well when I did it completely off the cuff, I figured I'd give this another shot. Anyway, Iron Man 2, it's a sequel to the original movie, which came out, I think, about 2 years ago. How's this fare as a sequel? I think it goes really well. Generally, I enjoyed this movie a lot. I think it manages to avoid a lot of the pitfalls that sequels tend to fall into. Is it better than the original? I don't know if I'd say it's better. I know it does have a lot more going on than the first one was, because the first one was kind of a basic origin story, albeit a very well told one. But this one has a lot more balls in the air. They do manage to juggle those balls very well, but I think at times it can be maybe a little bit unfocused as a result. It's not really a major complaint. I mean, they handle everything really well. It's just it has a lot going on in it, and I don't know if I'd say it's necessarily better than the original one. I'd say it's as good as the first Iron Man, just in different ways, if that makes any sense. Anyway, the acting, as always, is uniformly strong across the board. I think Jon Favreau really outdid himself with the quality of the casting in this movie. Robert Downey Jr., once again, is terrific in this part. I think this is the part that he was born to play, honestly, because he's so good at making this guy, this character, Tony Stark, who is basically a self-destructive egomaniac, just making him just likable and relatable at the same time that he's kind of imploding right in front of us. I mean, we think Tony Stark is a pretty huge ass, even though we still root for him to succeed, and that's fantastic. The new additions to the cast all work very well. Don Cheadle is now playing Jim Rhodes, after Terrence Howard played him in the first one. I would have preferred they kept Terrence Howard in there just to keep the continuity between the movies, but I know recasting is unavoidable sometimes, and you could do a hell of a lot worse than Don Cheadle. You know, he's a great actor as well. The character is a little bit underwritten, I think. I wish they could have given him more to do. Hopefully in the sequel they will. Oh, the threequel, whatever you call it. Sam Rockwell, he's another new addition. He's playing rival weapons manufacturer Justin Hammer, who I guess picked up the ball of the weapons contract, whatever, after Tony Stark stopped making weapons in the first one. I've read some reviews that say that he plays this character sort of like a sleazy used car salesman, and that's dead on. I mean, this version of Justin Hammer, he's kind of like the community college version of Tony Stark. You know, he's the guy who kind of idolizes Tony in a lot of ways and wants to be like him, but he's just not as good. He's not as smart, not as talented, and he's kind of got a huge inferiority complex about it, and he wants to kind of be Tony's friend, at the same time that he's trying to take Tony down. And Sam Rockwell really does a great job with this character. He really plays up the inferiority complex. That's a lot of fun. They milk that for some good comedy. There's a couple laughs about that, and it's really cool to see Sam Rockwell in a big quote-unquote blockbuster role like this, because I think he's a really talented and underappreciated actor, and hopefully this will lead to bigger things for him. Scarlett Johansson, she's another new one. She's playing the Black Widow. I don't think that's a spoiler. I think they gave that away in the trailers. I had to kind of take issue with this one at first, just because when I first heard they cast her in this role, I didn't like it, because I think originally they wanted Emily Blunt to play the character, and she sounded perfect. And when I heard they went with Scarlett Johansson, I was like, oh, I don't know about that, because I mean, she's so, I guess, she just seemed too young looking and petite. I guess I thought they really needed a more mature looking woman for this character, because Scarlett, she's like 5 feet tall. I mean, if they're gonna have her playing the Soviet super spy, I mean, how is it gonna look? I mean, she's like this, and she's gonna be beating up grown men and everything. I mean, how is that gonna play? But I gotta eat some humble pie on this one, because I thought she did a really great job. I mean, she obviously got into terrific shape and trained really hard for this, and she carries the action sequences better than I ever thought she would. I mean, it helps that they were filmed very well, but I mean, they have her taken down like huge men, and it doesn't look contrived or ridiculous whatsoever. I mean, I think she did a really great job with the action, and she even threw some lucha libre wrestling moves in there. And if you think I'm joking about that, I'm not. I mean, there's this sequence where she's beating up a lot of security guards, and it's going great, and it's a lot of fun. And then all of a sudden, she throws a head scissors in there, and it doesn't look hokey at all. I mean, it really works in the scene, and I just thought that was so cool. So, I mean, would I still have preferred Emily Blunt as the Black Widow? Yeah, but I can't criticize Scarlett Johansson in here because I thought she did a really good job. It's just my personal preference. I would have preferred somebody else, but I can't criticize the work she does here. I mean, the acting from everybody is uniformly strong everywhere. I mean, across the board. Although I do have to call attention to the Tony Stark Pepper Potts relationship, because this is an example, a great example of something the Iron Man movies get right that the Spider-Man movies got absolutely wrong. Because I'm not able to enjoy the Spider-Man movies at all for a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons is they play that whole Peter-Mary Jane relationship so god-awfully sappy. I mean, you can have two characters saying how much they love each other every 5 seconds, but if none of the pieces fit, then it doesn't work. I mean, a big part of the problem was that Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst have absolutely no chemistry whatsoever, but the screenplay and the direction tried to constantly force them to have chemistry, and it didn't work. I couldn't buy it at all. But here, Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow, they have such a great chemistry, and they play off each other so well. You can totally believe the simmering sexual and emotional tension that just keeps getting ratcheted up higher and higher. You totally buy into the idea that at any given moment these two are like that close from just stripping naked and screwing each other's brains out. And I think that really speaks to the quality of the casting a lot. And I think it helps that they were improvising a lot of their lines, obviously, on the set. And the crazy thing about that is that the scenes between Tony and Pepper, which are some of the best in the movie, they actually pop a lot more than the scenes where they were clearly sticking to the script more, which really surprised me. And it's not a bad thing at all. So that part was just was terrific. I didn't really have any major problems with the movie. There's two really minor ones. I think there was a little bit too much comedy and not enough action. I mean, the comedy all works. I mean, pretty much everything in this movie works. But I think they went to the well with the comedy a little bit too much. I think the comedy to action ratio was a little bit off. I know there really wasn't that much action in the first one when you think about it, but I wanted it a little bit more of this and a little bit less of this. And also the final battle with Whiplash. I forgot to talk about Whiplash. Mickey Rourke plays Whiplash. He's really good. And the final battle with Iron Man, War Machine, and Whiplash it felt a little bit anticlimactic just because it was kind of short, but there was a lot of action in the third act, so I mean it's not a major complaint that I have. As far as a comic book adaptation, like a movie adaptation of a comic book property, I think this works really well. I'm not too familiar with the Iron Man comics, so I don't know how well everything went, but they didn't really make any major changes. I know they changed Justin Hammer because in the comics he's an older guy. But within the movie, it works because I said Sam Rockwell is terrific in this role. Also, they made Whiplash a Russian. I don't know if that's I don't know. I think he's American in the comics. I'm not sure, but I think maybe they rolled a little bit of the Crimson Dynamo in there or something. But really, all the changes they made work, I think. Also, I gotta give Marvel Studios credit on this one because they're really taking a lot of pains to set up this Avengers movie. I mean, they have several scenes of Tony Stark and Nick Fury, played by Sam Jackson, talking about this Avenger initiative. They throw a tease of Captain America in there. I mean, just wait till you see how they work that in. That was hilarious. Also, be sure you stay until after the credits roll because there's another tease at the end there. There's a subplot where this SHIELD agent Coulson goes to New Mexico that kind of pays off at the end in a way that I did not expect at all. I can't believe they threw that in there. That was really cool. So, on a whole, I really enjoyed this movie. I think it was a very worthy sequel, and this whole franchise, this Iron Man franchise, it's just a great breath of fresh air in terms of comic book adaptations, because I think this is a cut above most of the rest. Maybe not the new Batman franchise, but definitely I totally absolutely prefer this to Spider-Man. I'll take this over Spider-Man in a heartbeat. But enough about Spider-Man. Crap, 25 seconds. Okay, so Iron Man 2, thumbs up. Really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I'm going to see it again. Great time at the movies. And go check it out. And I am out of time. So, over and out. Hopefully I'll be doing more movie reviews for you guys pretty soon. Take it easy.